Good evening, parents. I have one announcement before we begin our weekly read aloud. Remember, curbside meals are available on Mondays and Thursdays of each week. Effective Monday, you will have to show proof that you have a student in Aldine ISD. So please make sure that you bring your students or some type of proof to show that you have a student in Aldine. Thank you. Okay, students, now it's time for our read aloud. I'm so excited to share this book with you this evening. It's called Double Trouble in Walla Walla, written by Andrew Clements and illustrated by Salvatore Murdurko. It was an ordinary Monday morning in Walla Walla until Lulu raised her hand in class. Mrs. Bell, I feel like a nitwit. My homework is all higgly-piggly. Last night it was in tip-top shape, but now it's a big mishmash. Mrs. Bell said, nitwit, higgly-piggly, mishmash. Lulu, stop that flip-flop chitter-chatter or you'll be in double trouble. Lulu said, but I'm not trying to flip-flop chit-chat. I just have an itty-bitty problem with my homework. Mrs. Bell scowled. All right for you, Lulu. If you're going to shilly-shally and dilly-dally with all this fancy schmancy yak-yak, then we'll just have to trot down to the principal's office. Mrs. Bell hurried Lulu down the hall and they burst into the principal's office. Mr. Thomas said, what's all the hubbub about? Mrs. Bell said, Lulu's been trying to razzle-dazzle me with some kind of lippity-loppity jibber-jabber, and now I'm all helter-skelter myself. Mr. Thomas raised his eyebrows. Tut-tut, sounds like silly-willy hocus-pocus to me. Mrs. Bell's mouth dropped again. She pointed to the principal and said, Eeka-freaka! Lulu's got your tongue all topsy-turvy too. Now, don't get the jim-jams, Mrs. Bell. Let's give the nurse a yoo-hoo. Mr. Thomas picked up his phone and said, Mrs. Carter, I'm going to pitter-patter over to your office. Okie dokie. All three went across the hall to the nurse's office. Mr. Thomas said, howdy doody, Mrs. Carter. We're a little wacko-wacko. Lulu's got us talking this sing-song clap-trap like we're cuckoo. Mrs. Carter smiled at Lulu and said, fiddle-faddle. Lulu and I are palsy-wowsies. She wouldn't try that kind of phony baloney, tutti-frutti flim-flam. Lulu and her teacher and the principal stared at the nurse. Lulu said, wowie-zowie. Mrs. Bell said, jeepers creepers. And Mr. Thomas said, holy moly, you're in the same hodgepodge we are. I'd better give the superintendent a jingle-jangle chop. Wait one ding-dang tick-tock, shouted the nurse. If you chit-chat with the big wig, then he'll yak-yak like Lulu too. If we're not very, very hush-hush about this, there could be a mongo-mongo brain drain, and everybody in Walla Walla will be talking like a herky-jerky ding-a-ling. Then the nurse turned to Lulu. Lulu, let's get to the nitty-gritty. When did all this mumbo-jumbo start? Lulu gulped. She said, in English class, I had an itsy-bitsy problem with my homework, and then zip-zap. Mrs. Bell said talking like this was a no-no. The nurse looked over the top of her glasses at Lulu. Something like this would not just happen willy-nilly. Now, Lulu, think extra, extra hard and tell me what you did yesterday. Well, said Lulu, it was a very humdrum day. I was practicing ballet in my tutu when my little brother Bobo asked me to play on the teeter-totter. We seesawed until Bobo slipped off and got a boo-boo and started to boo-hoo. Mama and Papa came running pell-pell. So I went inside and splish-splashed in the rubber-dub tub and then hip-hopped into my cuddly-wuddly Betty-Weddy. I said night-night to Mama and Papa and Bobo and fell asleep in a snip-snap. That's all I did, honest. Mrs. Bell said, Lulu, it seems to me that you've opened up a knock'em-sock'em, wibble-wobble word warp. I usually don't believe in this kind of hoodoo bunko junko, but if it was going to happen anywhere, it would probably happen right here in Walla Walla. Mrs. Bell said, let's not quibble-quabble, Mrs. Carter. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies from all this razzmatazz. What can... Boys and girls, what is Lulu gonna do? how does she open this super duper helter skelter word warp? Will Walla Walla ever be the same? Nina, what do you think? So you'll have to stay tuned till next week, boys and girls. I'll see you soon. I love you. Good night.